to the Mid-Ohio Valley Model Railroad Club. My name is Jimmy B. I'm the president of the club. This is the second workshop for Introduction to Model Railroading. Like I said earlier, you can catch the first one on video on YouTube, Kai33. Just look that up on YouTube. We're glad you're here. We hope you learned something. We're going to learn stuff from you too. We did in the first one.
Yeah.
Our first instructor is Steve Vickers. He's going to teach us a little bit about some tips and tricks on model building and kit building. Steve?
Yep. Thank you, Jimmy. Like I said, my name's Steve Vickers. I'm one of the original club members. Dave Stout, who started the club, is the original club member. We started the club back in 1981. Today, just want to go over Introduction to Model Building. You got the handout if you want to go over that. First one is model building. Well, model building includes practically anything you do on a model railroad. When you build a kit, you're model building. When you do a train, model a train. When you do the layout, this is all model building. So if you think that way, that everything you do on the railroad is model, you're building a model. That includes your track, your ballast, everything. And think of it as building a model. Some people will build a real nice layout, and then maybe the kits they put on or got glue smeared on them and things like that. You want to try to think of, consider everything you do as a model. I mean, that's what I do. And then we got, what tools do you need? Well, every modeler should have a good toolkit. We'll start down here. Got some screwdrivers. This is an airbrush. Or anybody familiar with an airbrush? How to use them? These are cheap. You can buy them at Harbor Freight for $9 or $10, and they do an excellent job. You don't have to spend $150 on an airbrush. Just need some air to run it with. You can get your own little compressor, or you can get one of these that runs off a car battery, anything, just so you got some air, canned air. But it really makes a nice paint job on any kind of model, whether it's an engine or building or whatever.
Steve, when you're using the airbrush, do you do it outdoors, or do you have any special?
I've got a vent in my basement that I took like a over the stove vent, and I made my own paint booth. I built a box, put that vent on it, ran the hose outside, put a filter where the filter goes in there. I just put a big, instead of having the little mesh filter like comes with the grease filter, I put a regular paper filter in there.
So Steve, if you don't have that option, should you?
Well, you want to be able to ventilate the
area.
Oh yeah, you don't want to do it, and you want to wear a mask. Because anytime you do any kind of air spraying with a rattle can or an airbrush, you're going to make a mist, and you want to be sure not breathe that in. So take the safety precautions when you do use that. Then we put together a toolbox that has most of the tools you're going to need for modeling. You got drill bits. You got a saw with a miter box to make your square and angled cuts. You got X-Acto knives. There's a little ruler. I couldn't get a scale ruler, but you want a scale ruler. It's got HO scale, O scale, N scale. Got some glue, tacky glue. We'll go over that in a minute. There's a little pad, cutting pad, that when you're making cuts for your plastic or whatever, and you're using the X-Acto knife, you want to use one of these. You can cut right down into that. It'll seal itself back up, so you're not messing up your desktop or whatever you're cutting on. There's a set of files in here. You need files to do your detail work. But anyway, that's some of the stuff we got in this toolkit. I've got a flush cutter. I'll show you what this is for in a minute. Another knife. It's not an X-Acto knife. It's like you push the button and the blades comes out, and you can snap them off. And everybody, I think, is familiar with them. Got some tweezers. I got a pin vise for the drill bit. scissors, I got some more cutters and pliers and a couple of paint brushes and some clamps. When you're building a model and you got parts that you want to glue together, you clamp them, and this will hold it so you don't have to sit there and hold them with your
Where'd you get that, Steve?
Harbor Freight. You get most of this stuff at Harbor Freight. And this toolkit and everything you see here, that's why you sign the little ticket. After all the classes are over, we're going to draw names, and that's going to be given away. There's about $75 worth of stuff in here. Same way with the scenery kit. So, yes.
Many years ago, I got a really neat X-Acto clamp. It was blue colored, and it reminded you of a vernier caliper, and it had little thumb set button on it, and it was just made out of blue Cyclac or something like that. Have you seen those things still around?
Harbor Freight's got some things I think you could use. Just go to Harbor Freight and look in the clamp section. They've got all kinds of different clamps. And I think you might find something like that in there.
I've used that clamp since the 80s and I broke one of them. That's what happens with a favorite tool.
Oh, yeah. I had some that were just put rubber bands. It was made just a cheap clamp and you put rubber bands on it. And of course, the rubber bands would break, but you could replace it. But it was just a little old clamp. You can use anything for clamp. You can go to get clothespins. I mean, there's all kinds. I'm going to show you the household items is what I use to build a lot of models. You might not think about it, but there's a lot of things around the house you can use for model building. Okay. How do I decide what to model? That's up to you. I see a picture in a book. For instance, this model right here was in the magazine, and on your last page there's a plan for building this to scale, HO scale. And that's what I did. I used that plan and I built this. I haven't painted it yet, but I built that from the plans. It's on in the back of the packet. I got a cold, so. But anyway, it was in this article in Model Railroad. Okay, when you're building a kit, if you got a plastic kit, first thing you want to do, read the instructions. When all else fails, read the instructions, because I usually, these are over the corner somewhere, and I'm halfway through the kit, and I go, wait a minute, and I look at the instructions. So that's really important to look at the instructions before you start building something. Plastic kits come on a sprue. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. The best way to get those off, don't take an X-Acto knife necessarily and take a chance on cutting yourself. If you get some side cutters, you can just snap it off and usually make it pretty flush with the part, and you can just clean it up with a file or your X-Acto knife.
Where'd you get that, Steve? The side cutters?
Yeah.
Where?
Oh, this is all Harbor Freight.
Oh, okay.
I've got another one in here. This is just like a pair of, this is just a small wire cutter. It's the same thing. This I got at, actually at Crafts 2000 or Pat Catan's. This is Harbor Freight. But that's all part of it. This one's got a spring, it's spring loaded, so to keep it closed, I got to put a rubber band around it. Yeah, if I can get it to work. Yeah. It's easier said than done. Okay. Then you have resin kits. This is from Design Preservation Models. They're really nice, super detailed kits, but there's a little more work than just putting them together. Some of the edges are beveled the wrong way. You have to square those up with a file or sandpaper. And then of course they have the mold marks on them too, the mold things sticking up. You need to clip all those off. Either the plastic or the resin, before you plan on painting them, you need to wash them. Soap and water. You can take these pieces out, put them in the sink or a pan, little soap and water, wash them, make sure you dry them real good. There's a mold release on either resin or plastic kits, and if you don't do that, sometimes you can get away with just painting them, and it won't mess up. Other times you'll do it, and there might be a big craze mark that goes all the way down that you can't get rid of because there's mold release on there. So it's always a good idea to wash them before you wash them. My wife says, wash them. I wash them, she washes them. I'm West Virginia. What do you expect? Now, when you're doing your kits and cleaning up and doing your detail work, like I said, it's a good thing to use a mat like this that's sealed, self-sealing, and X-Acto knife. Be very careful. They are really razor sharp. Cut you real easy,
I know that.
especially in the top of your foot when they roll off the table.
Right here.
Ask me how I know that.
Right here, right on this.
Yeah, oh yeah. I try to keep guards with mine and put a guard on it. Okay, now this is something probably nobody ever thought about. This is how I sand my models and get the mold lines and the details, sand them down to the thickness you want. Where do you think these come from? They're sanding sticks.
Nail salon.
My wife worked at Sally Beauty Supply. These are nail for filing your nails. You can get them at the beauty supply store. All different grits. This is real fine. This is coarse. This is for when you first start working on the model. You get cut down. And this is your finished work. They make them in real small. This is another thing. The big nail files.
Yeah.
This is a coarse one. You can get them that's a lot finer for doing the finish work. Now, if you're going to put your kit, you got to put your kits together with something, some kind of glue. Depends on the kit. If you're building a wood kit or paper, I do a lot of paper kits, cardboard things. This is Walter's Goo. Familiar with that? It's actually carpet cement, I think is what they use. It's a contact cement. You put it on both pieces, let them dry a little bit, put them together. It's good for holding wood together because your plastic glues won't hold wood together. So if you're building a wood kit, super glue is one of my favorites. I like the gel, and I like this brand, Loctite. It's got the little squeeze sides. You just squeeze them and get the exact amount of glue you want to come out. And if you don't, if you got other kind of super glues, you gotta, and you just squeeze the bottle and then it'll squirt out. But this is real precise. You can just squeeze it. Yes.
Have you seen the phenomenon with super glue using a little bit of baking soda with it? It just works like putting gravel in concrete. Just instantly, it's set.
Okay, well,
It's almost like an accelerator.
well, they make an accelerator for super glue. Jet set, they call it.
Yeah.
And because this super glue is not instant drying. That's another reason I like it. You can move things around, get it precise to where you want it, and then you can blow on it and get it to set, or you can use jet set, take a little paintbrush, just put a little bit of that on there, and as soon as you touch it, yeah.
Have you ever used any of the modeling glue? I've got 3 different grades of modeling glue. Then I've got finishing to where when I get it where I want it, and I can move it back and forth. It's a spray. When you spray, boom, it's set.
Okay. That sounds like a super glue.
I got it at Hobbytown up in Columbus.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
it works real good.
Yeah, that would work too. But you can use my bottle of jet sets like that. It's going to last me a lifetime because it just takes a drop. When you use the only thing with using the set like that, I don't know about the spray, but the jet set, if you get too much, it'll kind of turn the joint white. But then you can paint it. So you just got to be careful of that.
And you can wipe it off, it's usually it's like a powder.
Right.
Yeah.
Testers makes a liquid glue. Comes in you can get this at Craft, or well, I call it Craft 2000, but it's Pat Catan's now. They have a modeling section and they have some of this glue. This is liquid. It's not quite as good as This is more, I think more like the old tube glue, which I don't recommend that at all. Because the tube glue, it's messy, it squeezes out, it'll get on everything, and after so many years it dries out, your models will fall apart. Ask me how I know that. This is another glue that I like to use on the model railroad, tacky glue. This is another craft item. You get a pack of cans. Turbo tacky glue. Dries pretty quick. It's white. It's like an Elmer's glue, but it's a little bit better. It's a little thicker. Use this for mounting. If you want to mount a person or something, it's not real permanent unless you're mounting a tree or something like that. But if you want to mount a person or something, or it's good for anything really, but if you want to mount people, just put a little bit of this on the base or on their feet and let them step. And then if you need to take it up, it comes off real easy. It won't break the legs off when you go pick them up. This is another clear part cement. I don't know if anybody's familiar with this. You familiar with it? You can take this and you start in a corner like a window and you squeeze it out. This one might be, I don't know if I can get it to come out. Anyway, you start in a corner and get a little dab of it. Then you can start squeezing some more and try to get it to go to another corner, and it'll actually make a window. And when it dries, you'll have a clear window. It's for getting in places to where you can't put glass behind it, or it's a building you might have already built, and you just want to put a window in it. It's really good for that. It's called Clear Part Cement and Window Maker. It says Window Maker on it. Kind of a little technique to get to do it. Get a little bit coming out, and you'll see it'll stick to things, and you just start stretching it and adding a little more, and it'll actually make a nice window. This is the kind of glue I use for almost everything on plastic. Not necessarily Plastistruck brand, they make different brands. But it's the liquid glue, and it's got the little brush inside. And what you do there, when you've got two parts to go together, you put the part together. Let's see. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You put them together like that, and then you put the glue on it, and just let it'll use capillary action, and it will actually melt the plastic in like a weld. It welds it together. Makes your best joint, but you want to be sure that everything's good and square, because once it seals, you're going to have a hard time adjusting it.
How long does it take to separate?
It varies. You don't want to use too much liquid, or it'll take too long and it'll soften the plastic too much. You just put your joints together, and then just dip that in there in the bottle, and then just touch it to the model, and it'll actually just go all the way down the seam. Don't use too much. Trust me. Another one of them asked me how I know. I build a lot of things out of cardboard. If you get a shirt, it comes with the cardboard in the shirt. If you buy something, maybe in a box or something that's got the cardboard separator, I collect cardboard. I've got stacks of cardboard like this at home. And I don't know where this came from. These were in some kind of box. But you can take cardboard and cut it to any kind of shape you want. And I mean, I didn't bring any buildings with me, but I've made several. You can make good mock-ups out of it. If you got a scene on your railroad, you say, well, I want an engine house. I want to know what it's going to look like before I spend $50 on a kit. You can make one out of cardboard. Doesn't have to be finished if you don't want, but you can take the dimensions that you want and build it, and then you see how it fits on your layout. Another thing is foam board. It's got the foam in between it. If you wanna, you can make things out of that. You can make, storage boxes, you can make all kinds of things. But this is a cement, paper cement. And this, you put it on both pieces, let it dry, which doesn't even sound right. And then you put it together and it'll make a really strong box or a core for a building. If you want, if you wanna just make a core and then put the plastic on the outside, because sometimes plastic will warp if you got big kids. You got the Evergreen scale models. Anybody familiar with Evergreen? Okay. You can get this. This is an odds and ends package. Just comes with little small pieces of different kind of material. You can get this in siding. You can get it plain. There's plain. There's siding, like on a building or on a box car.
Oh, yeah.
This is square, like a tile floor. And then there's just a lot of plain sheets, different sizes. There's the clear for making windows. Okay, now that's an odds and ends package. You can buy a sheet or buy a whole package of nothing but siding or nothing but the type of material you're wanting to use to build brick or whatever. But this is a real good company that if you go to a good hobby shop, they usually have a real big selection of evergreen plastic.
So you use that, like if you're making it out of cardboard and then you wanna.
Yeah, you can make something out of cardboard and put.
I'm assuming the kit's already,
Yeah, the kits already have all the stuff
but
there.
if you're doing it from scratch.
Yeah, if you build, that's good. Scratch. I didn't even scratch. I do a lot of scratch building. In fact, I've got a lot of examples. This is another example of evergreen. This is a I-beam, and it's a real good representation of an I-beam. You can take that, cut it, shape it, do whatever to build like the structure, the base of this building. They make angle, they make I-beam, they make just straight pieces. They make real small angle, large angle, whatever you want. Just if you got a plan in a book or whatever that's got the dimensions, and it's real easy to get the right dimensions on something. Something else you can do if you find something that you like, that you want to make a whole bunch of them, and you don't want to spend the money to buy a whole bunch of them, you can make a jig. This is a jig I made to make trash cans. Just made it out of plastic and glued the pieces on. I took the first one, one of these is original. I don't even know which one it is. I don't know which one I used to model it off of. Anyway, I bought one that was a factory kit or a factory piece, and I just looked at it and I took the shape and I cut the plastic to those different shapes using the jig, and then I just glue them together. So I can make all the trash bins that I want. A little bit cheaper, it takes a little more work, but it's a little bit cheaper than spending $15 to buy 2 or 3 of them. And this is the plastic that I used to do it with. I don't really have time to demonstrate it, but I've got the different pieces, different thickness and things like that. Things around the house that you have that you can use for modeling. I use a lot of household items, like I said before. Yogurt cup.
Does this press on so you can just stick it? Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, if you want, when you put it on the scene, you can glue it or do however you want to do it. It's just a trash bin. You know? Things like this, a yogurt cup. It's good for water, or if you're using acrylic paint, you want to get put your brush in there and clean it and everything. Another thing's when you go to restaurants and they give you little condiment cups. I use a lot of them. Dose cup. for when you take medicine, you wash this out and use it. These are things that I bought at Pat Catan's, just little. I put odds and ends. I got tons of these around the house with just parts in it. To where it's, I can't find the parts, but I can find these. Now, this I built these. These are models of a trash bin. It's got a hydraulic thing on the end that opens it up, and it's a compactor. There was a dealership up in the outside of Columbus, and me and a friend of mine were building models of dealerships. And if you go to Pioneer Chevrolet in Marietta and go into their showroom and see a model of their showroom, I helped build that. But anyway, we were showing the guy, McDormand, that had the Corvette place up in Columbus. He wanted us to build a model of his showroom, but he wanted the whole thing, which it would have taken up this whole building. And I was showing him the difference in scales. This is S scale, 1/64. This is N scale. Exact same thing. Shows you the difference in this. I was showing him how much room it was going to take to build what he wanted. I was trying to show him the difference. But that shows you the difference in scale. It's the exact same thing, just two different sizes.
You built these?
Yes. Scratch build. Like I said, I like to scratch build things. I scratch built this sanding tower. I had some parts left over. This is all handmade. The railing up the top. The ladder is purchased. I bought that. But the Plastistruck, what are these? The angle beams is what I used for the legs. Haven't finished painting it yet. A lot of this stuff I build and I never get around to painting it. This is part of a coal mine. Had parts left over. Didn't want to waste them, so I made a bin. I built the ladder. That's all scratch built. You can take a dowel, like a wooden dowel or something, and take the plastic. You can get the evergreen plastic. It's real thin, just like, so you don't have to cut it. It's already cut. And all you got to do is just wrap that around the dowel and glue it, and make a cage for your ladder. This is a kit built right out of the box. I think it was already painted. I think it was already these colors. But this just shows you right out of the box, just putting one together. There's the ladder, the kit ladder. If you're getting into railroad cars, building cars, that's a Model 2. This is one I built. I guess that's some kind of transformer. I had that laying around in the parts box. And you just, I got some nut and bolt castings. It looks like they bolted those big beams down to the car. And then I got just tape, like striping tape to do the straps on it. And then this, in the last page of your handout, you're going to see a plan. It's a plan to build this sanding tower. And I wanted to use the plan and build it to the exact scale, and just show you what you can do with a plan if you got a plan. So don't think it takes a lot of skill to do scratch building. It takes a plan. If you got the plans, you can build it. Probably last thing I want to go over, well, this is the article that I got out of Model Railroader. That's the article that I saw the sanding tower and I just wanted to build a model of it. That's why I did it. The best thing for model building is reference material. I've got examples out here on the table. This is a magazine they just come out with that goes over a little bit of everything. Fun tricks and tips that they give you.
And cheats.
Yeah. Here's 50 ways to make a better looking layout. These are the how-to books. Model Railroader does most of them. These cost like, this is $19, $19.95. Well worth the money. This is how to kit bash structures. If you want to build a kit right out of the box and do it just exactly like the box says, that's one thing. But if you want to kit bash and make it your own model, signature with something that you do. And this shows you about kit bashing, how you can do that. How to model today's railroads. If you're into modern railroading, this is a good book that gives you ideas on how to do the modern type railroading. A lot of people's back in the steam era, and dude, that's fine too. That's all model railroad. But I'm a today guy. My model railroad is today. I didn't pick a date. I didn't pick a year. Whatever's going on today, I can put on my railroad. What? That's cool. Scenery and structures. I can't recommend books enough. I've got a ton of them at home. For reference, here's how to do your model cars, the paint, detail your model cars. Just all kinds of books. Two of the main books I recommend is Model Railroader and Model Railroad Craftsman. You can subscribe to these. Get a yearly subscription, I'll send them right to your door. Really useful. And I guess my time's up.
One thing I want to,
Oh, wait a minute. I do have one thing. Here's some postcards if anybody wants to order Model Railroader, or it's where you can subscribe to them.
Thanks, Steve.
before we let Steve go here, on model and kit building, one of the new things coming out, all of you familiar with 3D printers? These were printed in a 3D printer. Can be done, these are in scale, they can be done in any scale. Pass them around there and look at it. We have a new member that just bought a 3D printer. He brought those over the other night. He's doing people. We've done a Sasquatch. I don't know how much the 3D printer costs, but you can print anything you can put into a CAD system. So if you see a building, if you can get it in that CAD system, you can print it to exactly. So that's kind of one of the neat things that's kind of coming into model railroading. Like that crane there and trailer, I'm not sure what that cost him to print, probably a few dollars, but you know, if you would buy something like that already painted, ready to go in a hobby shop with the truck up front, you're probably looking at $25 or $30, and he probably printed it for less than $5, I'd imagine. Yeah. Well, I think he just likes playing with stuff like that. The layout you'd be doing. If you notice, I kind of done it, kind of going that way. But if you notice, this is all foam, just a 2-inch foam glued together.
So this is the base, and then just
Just start stacking it up.
stacking.
Well, the best thing it's similar, but Liquid Nails has got, once it dries, you know, it's pretty solid. This takes a while to dry. You know, this, I cut out the basic shapes and glued it up and weighted it and let it set about a day.
No bad fumes.
Yeah, no bad fumes. And like I said, you can use it to put your track down, a lot of different things you can use with it. You can also glue the foam with this tacky glue. It takes a little lot longer to dry. Before you start carving and shaping, you want to make sure that your pieces are dry. Now, when I started, you know, these pieces were quite a lot bigger than they are now. We had a discussion about elevations in the last workshop. These are commercially available elevations. There's 8 pieces to this, and it takes you up from 0 to 4 inches, and then back down the other side. So, and that's what you'll see here. I'll turn it around, there's a good view of it actually there.
What percentage do you recommend for?
Whatever you gotta get up.
Okay.
You know, if you're gonna do a 2% grade, it's gonna take you 16 feet to get up and down. 4% grade, I think it's about 8 feet. And that's going up 4 inches.
What is that one? About a
This is a 2,
Okay.
2%. So it's a little more, less gravity.
Where do you get that?
You can buy this at any hobby store online. Woodland Scenics, they make it in a 2% and a 4%.
And it's so flexible.
Yeah, you can bend it,
In it.
you can shape it, bend it, do whatever you want. You can also, when you get good at carving the foam, and we did this on some sections of the N scale out there. We actually didn't use this in sections. We actually carved the foam. To shape and carve your foam, I use a variable of different tools. That's the best saw on the market. That thing won't cut anything. It's called a sharp tooth. I have 3 or 4 of these. You know, and you can start shaving out your basic shapes on your model. This saw makes really cool indentions. You'll see a few of them. There's one over there that actually look like an actual rock shape just with this saw. Once you get your basic shape, your best friends are going to be these. Even a screwdriver to start gouging out your rock formations. When you're carving out your basic shape, leave some high spots. See that rock there? That was just a piece of foam I had left sticking out, and then just carve it down. You can't do anything wrong. I mean, if you mess it up, just start over. But these are good. If you're going to do your elevations and stuff, this flat one is really good. It'll flatten it out for you.
It'll cut fast if you're not careful.
Yeah. This one I use a lot just to take the squareness out of everything. Don't want to leave anything square, nothing in nature square.
What do they call, Jim? What do you call those?
These are just files. Just, rasps. Yeah, I think this one was a couple bucks at Lowe's. And I'm a former contractor, so I got 5 or 6 of these laying around. I'm just using for drywall. Shaving the ends of drywall. I use a little handheld hacksaw to get my shapes and stuff. You know, I don't really get into it too much, but a lot of people, once they get into the foam, will actually carve their own bridges and viaducts out of the foam. Chisels, stuff like that, fine dental tools. You can see here on the front, I kind of carved in a wooden or a concrete retaining wall there, just real quick. I mean, that took me about 10 seconds and painted it up. Just something simple. Now, I use mostly foam on my layouts, but there is plaster. And you got the old school plaster where you had the chicken wire and the paste and the newspaper.
Yeah.
This right here, I don't read the newspaper, so I didn't have any newspaper. It's paper towels. I just rolled up some paper towels, put in there. This is just plaster cloth. It's commercially available. Any hobby store. It's got your plaster already mixed in. You always want to make sure the side that's outside, that side is always up.
$100 to several thousand.
The 3D printer? Yeah, that's great.
And then you need CAD software.
Yeah, and then well, he's got all that stuff. So yeah, that's all he's been doing for the last 2 weeks, all day long. It's just printing stuff. But anybody got any questions for Steve on the?
Yeah, any questions? I'm putting things away because I gotta go to work.